We are the biggest Spanish company, the third in Europe, and at the same time, we are the biggest leisure-focused hotel company in the world. Many people say usually digitalization is about processes, people, and technology, and I don't agree. You need data in that equation because that's what makes you really agile as a company, because you are able to understand what's going on inside and outside of your company, and you can react to that. Transformations are not done by yourself. I don't buy the company that you work for, by the people that forms your company, by your team when you have a team. So make sure everyone feels like a star. So trust yourself, build on yourself, make sure all the others feel like stars.
This is CIONET TV. My name is Hendrik Deckers. I'm here today with Chris Palomino, who is the VP IT at Meliá International Hotels. A very warm welcome, Chris.
Hi, Hendrik. It's my pleasure to be here.
Chris, you have a degree in technical engineering and in information systems from the CIONET University. You started your career in '97 and you joined Meliá in '99 as a system analyst. Over the years, you held various positions in the company, mainly in IT security, and you became the global IT VP in 2013. So Chris, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Where are you from? What's your background? And how did you arrive in this position?
Okay, so I'm 50 years old, and as you said, I've been 23 years working in Meliá, so that's a long career in the same company. I could say I've grown up as a professional over there. I had some works before. I was for 9 years a trainer in sailing for young teenagers and some people. Then I joined an aesthetic clinic for some years, doing all the IT stuff for them. But my main real work was in Meliá. I started as a technical engineer, as you said. And I've been always growing in Meliá. What kept me over there, it's that I've been always having new challenges, new positions. I started in technical engineer, and then I switched to information security. I created the information security function in Meliá, and for many years I was there. And then I moved back to taking care of the infrastructures and the networks of Meliá. At the same time, I kept security. And when I was there, I created also the first direct services from IT to our customers, which was the Wi-Fi in the hotels. That was the first service that came directly from IT to the guests. And it worked quite well. So in 2013, we were struggling a little bit with the IT function in Meliá. We were not very aligned with the business. So there was a challenge there. And the company decided to trust me with the task of fixing that, aligning IT with the business, and make the function successful and working for everyone. Okay. I think I've always shown over my career my focus on IT, IT's goal as making the business successful, and not doing IT in a theoretical or technically right manner, just making the business successful.
And you still live today on the beautiful island of Mallorca in Spain, right? So, but you traveled to Madrid, where's the headquarters? Tell us a little bit about that situation.
Yes, I live in Mallorca. Our headquarters are based over there. In fact, there are many Spanish hospitality companies that have their headquarters based in Mallorca. But I travel a lot. Our business is a travel business. And I come very often to Madrid, where we have a branch office, a very important branch office, especially for meeting and events and business travel. And we have very beautiful properties, as this one we are staying in.
Okay. So Meliá it's a big hotel chain. Tell us a little bit more about it. When did it start? How big is it today? How many people? How many rooms, stays, and so on? Give us a little bit of context, please.
We are the biggest Spanish company, the third in Europe, and the 16th, if I remember correctly, worldwide. And at the same time, we are the biggest leisure-focused hotel company in the world.
Okay.
The biggest that has the main focus on leisure and what we call bleisure. Bleisure is those cities where you can travel for business, but also you can spend your weekend over there, or having a vacation at the same time, short vacation, or having fun at the afternoon or at night, like New York, Madrid, Barcelona, Paris, London, Rome, many beautiful cities around the world. We have 370 something hotels. It changed a little bit with time, so I can't say the exact number today. And we are in 4 continents, mainly in Europe, with a strong presence in Spain, and in the Caribbean, also growing very fast in the southeast of Asia, especially in Vietnam. We are right now the 2nd hotel company in number of rooms. We have almost 100,000 rooms worldwide.
Wow.
And we have almost a billion of incomes, an American billion of euros in incomes last year. So that makes us as I said, the biggest Spanish company, very focused on leisure, also doing some MICE and events, and very oriented to give our customer very personalized and relevant experiences.
Okay.
So we care a lot on that side of our business.
Okay, so leisure business, leisure hotels, all around the world, $1 billion revenue, huge organization. And I want to quickly talk about the impact that the pandemic had on your business. I mean, in the hotel industry, that was, I mean, from one day to the other, you had to stop business almost. Tell me a little bit about the impact it had and what happened in that period in your organization.
Well, it's been the hardest crisis we've been through. I mean, there's no other time in our history that we've been 0 sales for months, and it happened during the pandemic, during the three first months of the pandemic. So we had to learn a lot. First, although we are public, we have been a family-owned company for many years, and even now 60% approximately of the company is owned by the Escarrer family. So moving from our headquarters to working 10% remote in our offices, and of course emptying our hotels because we couldn't have people traveling and arriving to our hotels. At the same time that we were dealing with, when we closed down, having people staying in our hotels that had to leave and they didn't know how to leave. So it was a struggling time. And we learned many things during this. First is that we survived. After months of not having sales, we were able to survive. And that's because we did our homework before. So we were very financially strong, and that helped us. Yep. At the same time, we started our digital transformation at the end of 2014. And that's been critical because it has allowed us to be very tactic, very agile in reacting to the market. And there's a very beautiful story about our digital transformation, how it helped us during the pandemic to keep our costs very low as we had 0 sales, because we had moved all the front of our cache, all the cache of the front of our central reservation systems into the cloud. So 80% of the processing power of our central reservation systems was already in the cloud.
Wow.
So as is a pay-as-you-go concept, the cloud, we were able to lower a lot our cost. Not 100%, but 80%. And at the same time, one thing we did when we were 2 months in the lockdown of the pandemic is that we decided to pay back to our healthcare professionals in Spain. So we gave up 20,000 room nights for healthcare professionals for free.
Wow.
And we decided to do it, putting 2,000 room nights every day. So you had to go to our website and book them, proving that you were a healthcare professional. And it was a huge success. It was so a success that it was our record in concurrent demand of our central reservation system. So we learned that we were able to sell 2,000 rooms in 1 minute, 8 seconds. That was the limit. And it was the highest peak of demand. And it was amazing to show to our CFO that all the promises we've done in business cases around the cloud, where you align cost with demand, it actually happened. We were able to absorb all that demand and at the same time keep our cost low during the rest of the rest of those months. It was in a very difficult and sad moments. It was a beautiful thing to see, as was having some of our hotels being hospitals for people that were quarantined and they were staying in our hotels, and we put those hotels in the hands of the government, and our staff volunteered in many of those hotels to still work even with the danger of the pandemic. So it's been a very hard time. At the same time, we've seen really beautiful things, both in our digital reality and the rest of the business.
Yeah, what an amazing story. How you, I mean, this really shows the power of the cloud, where if there's no use, you can reduce the cost, and if there's a peak, a sudden peak, you can also manage that if there's a peak in demand. And so you had 20,000 guests that could stay in your hotels from the healthcare sector as paying back to society. Wow, that's really impressive. So now, I mean, we're a couple of years later now. Are we back into normal business as before? Is leisure business back to where it was before the pandemic?
Well, this season, this year, it's incredible. If we didn't have I think it's the sixth wave we had in Christmas and first months of the year. If we didn't have that and inflation we're having, which is increasing the cost of our consumes very much, it will be a record year in revenue and a record year in our history in margin. Because the prices are very high, the occupations are very high, so it's a very successful year, especially from March to now, and we expect to the end of the year. It's been a great year. Leisure has been blooming. People, it's like a bottle of champagne that you keep with the pressure, and when you open the tap, boom, it blooms. Yeah. People was willing to go out to the sun, to other people. I think the whole leisure business, not only hospitality, is blooming all around the world.
Okay, super. So you come out of a very difficult period. Now you're in a very, let's say, in general, business is going well. But let's take a step back, and so let's look at what are the main drivers of change. What are the challenges today that business is facing? You already mentioned inflation, and how is business responding to it, and how is IT supporting these responses?
Okay, in terms of challenges and recession, it's good what we've done with digitalisation and aligning our cost with demand. And one of the things we've done, which is moving our CRS 100% to the cloud, as I was explaining before with the history around the 20,000 rooms that we gave up, that we were able to reduce 80% of the processing power. Oh. And now we've finished the transition to the cloud of the central reservation system and many other systems, and this allows us to even lower our cost more. So having this flexibility is very good to adapt to the demand, and at the same time, we reduce our total cost of ownership of the distribution, the sales side of our technology, 60%, moving from our legacy systems into the cloud. So this is a great way of helping the company. But this is not just that. At the same time, we've increased our capacity to bring sales into the company. So we've reduced the cost, and we've increased our elasticity to handle higher demand. And we can value that in more or less 50 million that we are putting in our sales, more than before the transformation, and 4 million less in the cost. Yep. So that's for 54 million that we are helping our P&L in these times. And at the same time, the digital transformation that we've done in our processes, not just in the technology, but in our processes, allow us and the business to react much faster to changes in the environment.
Yeah.
The way we handle data and artificial intelligence to react faster to changes in the demand in terms of pricing, adapting our pricing of our rooms, for example. The way we've implemented agility in business functions like brands and others is making them also be more agile to react our products, not only the IT products. So it's very beautiful to see how digital transformation that started with technology and technology for sales now is permeating to all sides of the business. It's something amazing. One of the drivers for change we have in the company is growth and diversity. This process we've gone through has changed a lot the kind of people we have working in IT and in other departments. A lot of young talent is coming now to work with us as a relevant player in things they want to learn too, and to add to their curriculum and their professional experience, because they are getting value in the market when they finish working with us, when they decide to work with us. So I can tell you, when I started in the company, 80% of the people working over there were not only Spanish, but Mallorquin, from Mallorca. and now it's quite the opposite. You have most of the people is either from all parts of Spain or from all other parts of Europe, America. We have great people working in our offices in Mexico, in Dominican Republic, in Europe, in Germany, in France, in Milano, in Asia Pacific, adding strategic value to the company, and involved in really core processes because of the tools they have and our ability to work remotely. That wasn't possible before. So that's a great thing to see.
We're going to talk about your team in a moment, but I first wanted to dive a little bit deeper into some of the core systems that you've set up in your digital transformation. So I understand the reservation system is key. Of course, is a key engine inside a big chain like yours. So tell me a little bit more about that. How has sales of hotel rooms, how was that before? Is that changing? And how does a reservation system support that? And I understand this is now 100% cloud-based, so you need that flexibility, I can imagine, to support different channels of sales. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the central reservation system is the core of our distribution technology. When we say distribution, it's sales. We say that we distribute rooms through different channels. And we have all our direct customers, and we have also other customers that are intermediate partners, like Booking.com, tour operators, travel agencies, many different partners that sell our room. So through the central reservation system, which is the core, we are connected to Meliá.com, the Meliá apps, and all those channels that handle our direct customers. And at the same time, we have pull and push integrations with our third-party partners, like I said, Booking.com, the OTAs of the world. So every transaction is closed in the central reservation system. Every disponibility request, availability request, as I want a room in Madrid for the weekend, the third weekend of January, is processed by our central reservation system. Even if it comes from our app, from our web, from a Booking.com system, we always reply from our central reservation system. We take care of that over there. There's another element that's very important too, which is the revenue management system, which fixes the price. I would say is the second interesting part or most interesting part of our distribution technology. So We've had a central reservation system for more than 35 years. It was one of the first ones or probably the first one in Spain, a little bit after Marriott's one in the US. In fact, we were the first or second first because we have some challenges over there agreeing on if it was us or not. A hotel company selling rooms on the internet in the 90s. We didn't have the first website, but we started selling. If we were not the first, we were the second. We're not sure if we were the first or the second. So we've bet on technology for distribution a long time ago. The thing is that in 1999, I think, we rebuilt our central reservation systems with a fifth generation language and mainframe, and it was very legacy. So you had kind of paper transaction cost because the mainframe works with MIPSs, and there's something like you pay the more consume you do, but it's not 100% like that. And having a fifth generation language allows us to generate code in many different architectures. And ours was COBOL, DB2, and mainframe, but you could generate Java or other things. It was great when we did that in 1999, but years passed. And what we found 3 or 4 years ago is that we were struggling with three things mainly. The first one, and we talked about that, was cost per transaction. It had been many years working with that architecture. We knew it very well, so we made it efficient to the bone, but we touched bone. We couldn't make it more efficient. And at the same time, many digital players in our market were getting better cost per transaction. I mean, there are companies that have a central reservation system made in the cloud 3 years ago or 4 years ago. So it was difficult to keep the pace with them or compete with them in terms of margins. The other thing we had was the time to market. We had an amazing governance model built on that technology, working with waterfall projects, with that fifth generation language, with a technical office and a very, very well governed structure, but very rigid at the same time. So our time to market was very, very long. The business couldn't accept that a new functionality needed that much time to be available to our customers. So we were struggling with that, and we were seen by the business as slow and expensive. But the third thing was that our people was getting old. The people that manage our central reservation system were growing, and some of them were retiring. And when we were trying to hire, we were struggling with that because we had a 20 years old fifth generation language with not many customers in the market, with mainframe technology, very legacy technology. So we were not attractive for the good talent getting out of universities because they were seeing like that's like a black hole where you get into and you won't be able to get out of there. So that was our third challenge. And that's when we decided to do, again, a renovation of our architecture and moving to the cloud and implementing agile.
And so tell me, this reservation is completely, is it a buy or a build? Is it something that you can buy off the shelf and change some parameters, or is this something that is so unique that you need to build it yourself?
Well, you can buy that in the market. In fact, there are companies that their business is selling central reservation systems, and they are pretty good ones. The fact is that all the major players have their own, like we do. Because once you have the size, what you handle with the central reservation system is your business model. So it's strategic. If you're small, it makes sense for you. It may make sense for you to use a third party. When you are big enough, having control of your business rules or your business strategy, of how you handle your rates and build your rates, it's very important. So for us, it's strategic and it is ours.
Okay, great. So
we build that.
So you come from a mainframe DB2 5GL legacy system with an older population of people to support that, and then you do the big switch. You go cloud, you go agile, you go with younger people. That's quite a change. I mean, how long did that take? This complete process from okay, we need to go and build something new in the cloud for ourselves until you were like, wow, we're operational and every room is now in the new system?
Well, it took us 22 months,
Okay.
which anybody believed that. Anybody believed that. Even the cloud provider, we had their consultancy services working with us to see how we could do that, told us that it was a 4-year project, for sure. So it's been very, very fast. What we did, we were very confident that our people knew very well the application systems.
No.
It was the same people that built it, so they knew it very well. So we knew the complexity that was there. And we were very conscious that we had a 5th generation language that was supposed to be able to generate code in different technologies, and one of them was Java. So we were confident that that would help us. But what we did first is building that cache that I talked about when talking about the experience with the healthcare professionals. The first thing we did is try fast and cheap. So we built a cache that took care of answering the request for availability from different channels, from our website, our contact center, our app, third parties. So the first questions that our central reservation system received, which was, I need rooms in Madrid from these dates, so I have this, and this is the price, was answered by the cloud. And then if you needed to close the transaction, okay, yes, I want this one, you had to go into the mainframe because we weren't able to close the transaction on the cloud. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fast, cheap, and easy to test it. So what we did is using the 5GL to build that cache, and we found out that, well, it worked. So you could generate code in Java, but at the same time, we found out that if you were translating a heavy database access transaction, one transaction that was calling many times to the database because of the mainframe. In the mainframe, the database is very close to the processing power. It wasn't efficient. So you couldn't reach a response time good enough if you translated the programming to Java with the 5GL. So we learned first, it was doable. Second, some transactions had to be rewritten from scratch. And third, that the people that did it was enthusiastic. So we were very concerned because at the beginning, they didn't want to hear anything about migrating the system. It was their child first. And second, they were very comfortable with it. They knew it very well. They had the technology under control. They had their governance processes. So why change it? This works very well for us. Not for the business, but for us, it works very well. So they didn't want to. But the people involved, what they saw immediately is that they were learning Java, they were learning microservices, they were learning how to program in the cloud. So, hey, this is good for me too. I'm becoming a high-value professional into the market. And we can do that, and we can. So the business started to be enthusiastic because we were lowering the cost and we were able to respond faster. So, hey, everybody's happy with this. We are happy. The business is happy. They are starting to look at us with a different face. So it was a very good experience. Although we saw we had many work to do in front of us, providing many transactions that were very heavy in accessing the database.
Okay.
And then we focus on testing all those transactions that we were just translating with the 5GL language in the cloud with one team. Another team started to program from scratch those transactions that were heavy use. What we did with this team, because we had one challenge in front of us. Okay, we want this team to do it. they have to learn Java. They are starting to learn Java, but they are not senior Java programmers or senior architects.
Yep.
So how can we keep these people involved and happy and cooperating, and at the same time being fast in doing the transition, because we wanted that to happen fast. We didn't want 5 years, 4 years. We wanted 2 years. So what we did is splitting this team in two and completing it with young but senior Java programmers and architects. So half of those two teams were experts in the application system. The other half were experts in the new technology.
Okay.
So each of them learned from the other. The people with Java talent learned from the application system, from our senior people, and our senior people learned from the Java programmers. And when these two teams became efficient and working perfectly, we split them again. So when they learned from the other, we split them. And at the end of the day, we had 8 teams working on writing transactions. And that was what made possible rewriting them in 6 months. So when they started being efficient, we had 6 months of programming, and then making everything like pieces of Lego game, and starting to try each of them, test each of them together with the others. So most of the 22 months were testing and making sure everything was working and adjusting little things. Another thing that we did in parallel was changing our integration model in the company. So we came from an enterprise service bus and ESB for our integrations model, and we moved into Kafka and open microservices integration model. So we could build microservices, and everything that's rewritten is microservices as all of our cloud technology. And that made that after 22 months, we were able to shut down our mainframe and operate 100% into the cloud. We still have a great deal of code, almost 80% of the code, that's translated with the 5GL. So we keep it, we maintain it on the 5GL technology, and 20% that's written in Java. And now that we are 100% into the cloud, we are rewriting all those transactions, but being already in the cloud. So our plan is in 1 year or 2 years, not only having the full system in the cloud, but everything made for the cloud and optimized for the cloud, and microservices built.
Okay, super. Wow, quite an impressive story, and I see that you yourself, you're quite deep in the technology here as well. I mean, you know your technology. It shows that you come out of the IT department yourself, and so that's pretty cool. So how much? Let me maybe ask you a bit of an odd question, Chris. Where do you position yourself on the nerd scale? And the nerd scale is, if you are 0, you have no idea how to program a computer, you can just switch it on. If you are 10, you still on a regular basis program yourself, and you still know how to do Java and the latest technologies and so on. So where are you yourself still today on this nerd scale?
Well, I would say I'm a 5 or 6, no more. I was a 10.
I can
once
imagine.
Upon a time.
Yeah.
But not now. I cannot program in Java. I learned how to program in Java, but Java was very young when I was programming. I mainly program in C. So I'm not that. But during this project and many other projects, I had to convince many people that things were possible.
Yeah. Okay, I absolutely understand.
And teams challenge you. Yes, teams challenge you. So you need to understand them.
Let's talk a little bit more also about the data aspect of all this. So one part of the IT transformation, the digital transformation, was to go to the cloud, have a completely cloud-based new modern architecture for your reservation system. The other was to become really a data-driven organization, so that you can do personalization, intelligent pricing, predictions, and so on and so on. Tell us a little bit more about that part of the transition that you have created in Meliá.
Yeah, sure. I would say with data and make data something that drives your company is part of the digitalization process. If you don't do that, you are not doing the digitalization. Many people say usually digitalization is about processes, people, and technology, and I don't agree. You need data in that equation. Because that's what makes you really agile as a company, because you are able to understand what's going on inside and outside of your company, and you can react to that, and you can automate with that. I'm also data officer of the company, so I'm in charge of ID, but also in charge of data. I work very close with control management, which they are in charge of the analytic function in the company. So they do the business analysis. So I serve them with data that's been cured, centralized, engineered, and ready for them to make decisions and to arrive to conclusions on the data. So it's very important when you design your digital architecture, how you design your masters and your data governance model. And that's something we've done during these last years to empower the people with data technology and making sure that you have a good balance between the people you have in technology and the people you have in data. Because if you start building technology, but you can make value and add your requirements and everything to be able to make most of the data generated by those transactional technologies, it won't work. So in our case, and in the case of hospitality technology, you'll see that if you compare the size of the business that we are in terms of incomes and in terms of revenues with other industries, and you see the level of maturity in how we handle data and artificial intelligence, it's amazing. I mean, we are centered on two things. One is delivering amazing experience to our customers. And that means knowing what each of them wants at any given moment, how to talk to them, how to sell them, how to welcome them in our hotels, which kind of things they like. So there you have to keep on one side very high level of compliance and legacy and security, because you are handling a lot of data from our customers. We are their house or their home when they are not home. So we handle a lot of data from our customers, and at the same time using that to make sure you are giving them the experience they want. And the other thing we need to do is to compete with other people selling other things or selling room nights to customers. And there we have our at the same time partners and competitors like all those Booking.coms, Hotel.com, Expedia, all those third parties that they take a part of the revenue of the room, which is their business, but at the same time, they are selling our rooms and they are making possible that we arrive to much many people. But if we are not able to arrive in a meaningful manner to our customers and to optimize our prices, we wouldn't be able to compete with them, which are native digitals with not physical assets that drags them down. So we have the cost of the physical thing and the necessity, the need to compete with these digital players. So that's why artificial intelligence and data management is so important in the hospitality industry. And I would say any major player does a great job with that. And I think we are one of the, I think I proudly can say we are one of the hotel companies that does it very well. And we personalize all the customer experience, website, mobile application, contact center. The price is adapted to whatever is happening into the market or into the location, destination where the hotel is. We at the same time make very efficient our staffing and the way our people work. removing a lot of friction so they can focus on the customer.
Yeah.
We use robots and artificial intelligence to process hundreds of thousands of bills, and we are practically 360% of our processes. We deal with the data that we're generating over there. We're using robots and artificial intelligence to optimize how we handle them and helping our staff to focus on selling, talking to our customers and making their experience fantastic, and having a high value job. So they are not doing repetitive tasks. They are ensuring that we optimize our billing process or whatever, depending on the aspect of the technology of the company that we're doing.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how the leisure business, the hotel business has also become a digital business, and how that can really be a USP that can set you apart from the competition. So the better you work with your data, the better you know your clients, the better you can serve them, and the better you can sell to them. So tell me a little bit, how many people work at Meliá in total, and how many people in IT, and how many people in data?
Well, we are usually between 35,000 and 40,000. Sometimes we are a little bit more, sometimes we are a little bit less. During the pandemic, we were much less. On high season, we can arrive to 42,000, depending on the year. So we are a huge company in terms of people. We have many people working as waiters and front desk people, maintenance. So you said before, we are very physical experience industry. We take care of your vacations and your stay, so we cannot be 100% digital in terms of the business. So that's what requires to have a high amount of staff. In IT and data, we are around 200 people shifting, 160 more or less in IT, 30 or 40 in data. And then we have, of course, software factories that help us to develop our products, which is very variable. They have no names, I could say, for us, because it's people that we request on demand. And then we have outsourcing too, which has people taking care of our infrastructure, which is not my people, but they work for us, but they don't have names also for us. It's the outsource company. So we are high in terms of economical size. I could say that we are 0.7 of our incomes are the expense in IT.
Okay, so quite a big team. I mean, and what is interesting is that your responsibility is both in IT, and this 160 people plus the outsourced services around that, but that you have 30 to 40 people in data, and that you have the responsibility of both of them. Because I don't think I don't see many CIOs that have also the data responsibility, and I can really see the advantage because the pricing and the experience that you need to build based on data is so important. So Chris, if we take a step back, and you have been since 2013 the global VP IT, you have done a big transformation to the cloud of the core systems, become really data driven. How do you look at fundamentally your role in the organization today? Where do you spend today most of your time? What is really that you as the CIO, the VP IT of the company, what is it that you're focusing on today?
Well, I said before, I think IT's mission is to make the business viable, efficient, and fast, and transform it with the capacities that technology brings into technology and data, in my case, brings into the table. So most of my time is spent talking to other not only high-level executives of the company to understand their strategy and their goals, but also meet management to learn the struggles that the people is having, and going to our hotels to see what's going on over there, and the different challenges they have in different parts of the world. And we are living now something in our external environment, which is the digitalisation of the fiscal function all around the world.
Yeah.
And this is a huge challenge for us too, because we have to respond to different countries where electronic billing, electronic reporting of your fiscal obligations, it's growing, and everybody is doing it in a different way. So in Europe, we are more or less lucky that we have some common grounds, but not 100%, because Italy's regulation is different than Spain, than French, than Belgium, than Germany, but also in Latin America. So you have to be very aware of what's going on in different countries, in different hotels. So I try to be very close to all the business functions, and I also sit in what we call the strategic committee. So I'm part of the strategy definition of the company, and I follow the strategic plan. But that's the hard explanation of the function. What I'm very proud is of seeing how we, or me, or my team and myself, are permeating a different way of doing things into the business. So for me now, seeing the brand development working with agility, using our digital tools to handle their task and to see who is doing who, to adapt their product to the customer's needs, and testing and then changing, and not designing how they're going to. For me, that's amazing. That's when I see that we are not a company that's using digital process and digital technology. We are becoming digital, and this is a marvelous journey that we started in 2015, when I put one person of my team, one young professional, really great professional, as a director of IT for sales and distribution, and I gave her a functional reporting to the VP of sales and distribution.
Okay.
So I told him, hey, you've been struggling with IT. I know that. We've been slow. You think that we make decisions that affect the way you can achieve your goals, and it didn't work right. So let's do something. I know you know what you want. I know you know when you want it. But you don't know how to do it, and I know how to do it. So let's do something. You take care of what and when, and we'll put the how. And let's mix our teams. What's your organization? Who are the responsible for your organization? So this is my head of revenue management. This is my head of campaign. This is my head. So what we did is, under this director for IT sales and distribution, we replicated the sales and distribution organization in technology. And we sat all the people working in IT for the people in sales and distribution together with the teams. So the people in campaign management from the business and our people were sitting together physically, and they working together. So what we didn't do is give them agile processes, because I knew that wasn't going to work, to force them into something so new at that moment. But we started, and we did that with this director that she bought. She bought the plan from the beginning. We started forcing them to deliver projects, both to the business and to the technology team, with very short windows.
Yeah.
Okay, we want this in 1 month. This is a quick win we need, is this. So, as I mentioned before, we have a very strong governance in IT, and so they started struggling because they needed a lot of time to handle all the bureaucracy around that, and building the project, getting the project approved. So in a short time, they were requesting to there's something out there that's called agility, and we want to learn how to do that.
Okay.
So we engaged a company that helped us with that. So this started as changing the way the business and ourselves did product management, technology, and agile development. And it was very successful. So successful that was when the IT function was started to be seen as something very good inside the company. Mm-hmm. And we started to have requests from other sides of the company to work the same way. So 1 year later, we started with the back of the house, and the company appointed the VP for strategy as the leader for digital in the back of the house to put agility in the processes. So we did the same thing. I had him, and I put a director under him, and we started digitalization on the back of the house of processes. Yeah. And then operations. We did the same thing with operations, with hotel operations. For the customer experience, for the people working in the front desk, and we started doing the same thing. So since our journey that started in 2015 to 2021, we had digital processes working in the 360 degrees of the company. And then came when they saw the opportunity that I told before of using the way we did things for their business processes. And it's been an amazing journey.
Okay. Wow. That's quite impressive, Chris. Let's talk a little bit more about yourself. So, so the first thing I would like to know is you're clearly very successful in building teams and reorganizing teams and bringing in young people and having new ways of working. So how would you describe your management style? What's your secret ingredient of building successful teams?
Okay, I think that's something very important, and first, thank you for your compliment, is giving them accountability and responsibility for their own task and their own job. Mm-hmm. So I coach them a lot. I help every professional that works in my team knows at any level, know that they can get into my office and ask for help for whatever they need. But they also know that they will get out with more job. Mm-hmm. than the one they have when they enter the room. Because I make sure I have great professionals working for us and for my team. So I expect them to be able to resolve their problems. And I don't give them impossible problems. And I can tell you I'm very persistent when I know something can be done. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I know that when you force someone to do things, a good professional, when you force a good professional to do things the way you think they have to be done, you are not getting the best from them. You have to make them do their own way of achieving the goal you want. So I would say that's it. Accountability and responsibility help to grow, but not resolving their problems.
Okay. If I would go to your teams and I would ask your people what they really think about you, and how do you think that they will describe your leadership style? What do you think people say about you when you're not around?
Well, I try to think in the positive and non so positive things. Mm-hmm. They will say that I'm very close. That I'm very approachable. I'm always for the people. Mm-hmm. That I'm very well-mannered with them, so I never shout on these kind of things. I'm very, very nice to them. I'm very close, but at the same time, I'm very persistent. I try to get the best of them and push them to the limit. And they grow with me. So I would say he never resolves our problems. Every time I go into the office, as I was saying, I go out with more work, but he always listens, he always helps, he always makes me think, and people grow with him. Mm-hmm. And that's something I'm very proud of. Many people that I have now in management in my team and in other teams, is people I hire for low-level positions, and they were great professionals, so I coach them.
Okay.
there.
Let's talk a little bit more about your personality. You shared with us that your Myers-Briggs personality type, your MBTI, is you're an INTJ, and also known as an architect. And so an INTJ is a person with introverted, more introverted, intuitive thinking and judging personality traits. And these are thoughtful tacticians that love perfecting the details of life. They're applying their creativity and rationality to everything that they do. And their inner world is often very private and a complex one. Does that sound a little bit like you?
Totally, totally. I know that I'm INTNG from a long time ago, I think 6 or 7 years. And the first time I read the description of what was an INTG, I was amazed on how close it was to me. Especially because I think the introvert, or what I understood is an introvert extrovert part of it. It's not about you being nice to people and being able to be a close person, cheerful person. It's about where you get your energy from.
Yeah.
And I know I get my energy from my inner world and not from my external world. I consume my energy in extroversion. I get it from introversion. So I read a lot. I think a lot. I like to wake up very early in the morning, so I have 1 hour and a half for myself.
Okay.
So I can have breakfast in a calm way and maybe read a little bit of things in the phone or in the laptop. And it's my me time. So I'm introverted in that way, but at the same time, I'm a person that enjoys very much impacting and learning from other people. So I may not seem an introvert person to many people, but I am. I need my energy from my inner world. Otherwise, I'm not able to do the other thing.
Well, let's maybe look at the strengths and the weaknesses of an architect, of an INTJ. So I'm going to present you with a couple of the strengths, and then you tell me which ones that stand out for yourself. So the typical strengths for an INTJ, for an architect, is that they're rational, that they're well-informed, that they're independent, that they are determined, you already mentioned that they are curious and versatile. Does that all fit the bill? Which ones stand out for you?
Well, I would say it's thinking out of the box, which is a mix of them. Mm-hmm. I think different than other people. So when you put a problem and you ask people how you would solve this problem, most of the people finds a way of solving it. So I'm the one that solves it in a different way. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because the way I architect data inside my head and the way I approach problems in a very intuitive way. And that's the end of the INTG. There's sometimes I don't know why. I know something is going to happen or you have to fix this in that way. But I know that you have to do it this way. And I've learned with the years that I'm correct about that. Mm-hmm. So, and this is something that in my young times, sometimes I was shy about it because sometimes I knew that you had to do things in a certain way, but as I couldn't not rationally explain why that was the way of doing things. Mm-hmm. But then when you start to see that you succeed every time you do things in that way and you are correct at the end of the day, you start to trust in that intuition. So I would say that mixture of things you mentioned in thinking outside of the box is the resume for me.
Okay. Now let's look at the flip side, at the dark side of the architect, and that is let's say domains where you have to be careful. Possible weaknesses, areas of development are that architects can be arrogant. They can be dismissive of emotions. They can be overly critical, combative, and then more on the personal side, romantically clueless. But let's focus on the other ones first. So where do you recognize yourself? What are what's the professional, personal development that you had to go through to have the role that you have today? Because you can't be arrogant, you can't be dismissive of emotions or overly critical in your position, right?
No, you are correct. You are correct. And thanks to God, one learns with the years, part because of the experience, part because of training you get from people management. So you learn to soften yourself. But I could say my most important weakness could be stubbornness sometimes, because I know what I want. I know that it has to be done. I know one way is the correct way, or I feel I know. So keeping open to listening to other people about how to do those things.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can be wrong. I mean, you may have your intuition, but you can be wrong. So sometimes it's good to listen to other people. But I have to coach myself sometimes to do that. And that's mostly. I'm not, or I try not to be arrogant in the sense of imposing myself with strength to others. In fact, I think that if you want to lead a transformation in a company and you want to convince other people that they have to adopt a different way of doing things, you have to be very humble. Because you need to convince them that it's their idea and their success and not yours doing things in a different way. So I think that also, it's been a great lesson I learned with my years, not on my technical experience, but on my management experience. And I think that's part of the core of the digital transformation we've done. Success is for the business functions. So, okay, we transform the way you do things, but it's your thing. You are transforming yourself. We are just helping here. And it pays back. I mean, our success inside the company is because everyone feels supported by us, feels rewarded by us, they trust us, they listen to us because they are getting good things. But let them have the protagonism.
So, Chris, you shared with us that you have 2 children. Girl 17,
Yes.
boy 15, so teenagers growing up very fast, I can imagine. So what are the values that you're passing on to the children, to your children? What are the core values that you live by yourself?
Well, there's a quote from a TV show, so it's not someone very, very famous in philosophy or anything like that. It's Harvey Specter from the show Suits, that says always that success only comes before work in the dictionary. And that's something I try to coach them. They have to work for what they want. The second thing, or the second value, is to be themselves. So not to be ashamed of who they are and what they are, because they have great capacities. Everyone has great capacities for something. They just have to build on their strength. So they will improve with work, but listen to yourself, to what's your inner strength, and focus on them, or what you like and what you can do better than the average people, and focus on those strengths of you. And above all, be straight to your values. So you think something is right, don't do the opposite, because you will repent on that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot about work is needed for success, and learn about yourself, about who you are, and build on that. Your strengths, your values.
Yeah. In your younger years, Chris, you were very passionate about sailing. You gave training in sailing. What are your passions today outside of work?
Well, from sailing, many years ago, I moved into rugby. I started playing
rugby. Wow.
Yep. And I've been playing rugby very actively since not many years ago, 40 something. And then I started playing veterans, vets. But I didn't play since the pandemic. So I'm looking at going back to that. But I'm still in contact with the club, and we have a great relationship with all the teammates. So it's something I like a lot. And I'm also into CrossFit. So sports is always something that I'm very, very close to. I like feeling well and feeling young. I'm 50 now, so I like to feel young and be able to pick something from the floor and go up the stairs very well. And at the same time, keeps your head also young.
Yeah.
And I like a lot to read. Something I like a lot is reading. I read a lot. I read before going to sleep every night. I read more learning things every morning. And the third one is my family. Being with my kids all the time I can, and with the rest of my family. I think that's very Mediterranean. We like to be very, very close. So I would say those are the three things a part of work that.
Yep. And if you read, is it about business? Is it about politics? Is it about literature? What is it that you read?
I try to read things that interest me. So I read many different things. I can tell you, I read from philosophy books to historic books to science fiction to whatever that interests me at that moment of time. And I'm like a laser sometimes. So if some subject interests me, I read everything about that.
Yeah.
Or is some author, I like some author. For example, a few years ago, I enjoyed an Asimov book, and I read all the books from Isaac Asimov. Also happened to be recently with the saga of Dune, which is amazing. If you haven't read it, I would highly recommend it because of all the back it has. It seems like a science fiction book, but it has a lot of philosophy in it, of politics, of self-development, lessons of ecology. It's amazing the things the author used science fiction to teach about. So I highly recommend that saga. And so it's very, very different kind of reading. I like changing and learning.
Chris, do you have a personal mantra, a saying that you live by or that you use if you have to make decisions or when you talk to people? Do you have a personal mantra?
Yes, I could say you can still do it better. I'm a perfectionist, and that was one of the sides of, or one of the aspects of the ITNG. I finish a project, and I'm already looking at how we can improve that. So I'm sure we finish that. Okay, it's amazing. We can do this more efficient. What can we change to make this better? I'm always looking at doing things in a different way so we can improve. You can always do it. You can always improve everything. That's my mantra. So work is never done.
Okay.
You never finished.
Okay. Not necessarily an easy position in life if it can always be better. But let's talk about the important people in your life. Do you have any important mentors, coaches that help you to develop? And who are they and what did you learn from them?
Yes, I have. I have 3 or 4 people I consider my mentors in my life. The first one is my father, which I learned many things from him, from what's being a man to as a grown-up person, to values I have in my life now that I learned from him, like the hard work, like you can do things if you push them. I learned a lot from my dad, and he always was similar to me in the sense that he knew I was capable of doing everything I wanted or everything I had to do. So he was demanding, but at the same time, he was doing it always from a really nice way of approaching things, mentoring, but not resolving the problems for me. So that's something I learned from him. And then professionally, I have 2 or 3 of them, but one of them in particular, which was my boss for 6 years. And he, for some reason, he decided to coach me. And I wasn't a direct report for him at the beginning. So he was the boss of my boss at the beginning. But he took me personally and shared time of his own time. He spent hours after work talking to me about things and teaching me things and asking me my opinion on many things. So this is probably a part of my father is the person I care most as a mentor, Pep Lopez. And probably one of the worst moments of my life was when he passed away suddenly from one. He was my boss at that moment. And I remember a weekend receiving the call that, did you know what happened to Pep? And he passed away that night, sleeping in the bed. And I remember that as cold water being thrown into you. And learning, okay, now my world is without this mentor. What do I do first? Because he's been coaching me for all this time. And then professionally, I've grown over his position. And arriving there. And so that's one of the things that make me very, very proud of what I've done in my life. Because it's like, okay, you were seeing him as the best professional ever. And now you are here. But I know I'm here because of him also and what he taught me. Yeah.
Okay, super. Now, Chris, you're very, very successful in your career, in your long career in Meliá, but we all make our mistakes, right? We all have our bigger and smaller failures. We have stupid failures, we have nice failures, and sometimes we make a brilliant failure. Would you care to share what was maybe your most brilliant failure and what did you learn from it?
Well, when I started working in Meliá as a technician, there's something that happened 3 months after I joined the company. Is that I was in another department. I took care of communications in that, of system engineering in that department. And there was one person in communication, one person taking care of databases, one person in architecture. There was many people working in there. But suddenly, many people, 80% of the people left. Some because they were moving into another department, some of them because they left, and one because he passed away. So suddenly I was very young professional, lack of experience in our department, and it was very important for the department because there was a person that took care of communications and myself taking care of everything else. And there was a huge project that involved transforming the technology in of our hotels. So we had isolated technology in each hotel, and we were moving into a managed Active Directory domain, controlling everything with a control platform, with outsourcing from a great company, managing our desktops and the support for the hotels. And we had to change the technology in every hotel we had at that moment. So I was the only person in the department. So Chris, yes, I know you have 3 months. You have 3 months of experience here. You have to do this. Can you do this? Yes, I can do it. So I was working 5 hours per day. I started to work full time and working more time than I was supposed to be working, taking care of everything, calling around. I have photos of that period of time when I'm talking with 2 phones at the same time, the fixed phone and the mobile phone at the same time, and also emailing. It was brutal, but I put everything in track. I set up the project, and then there was something that it wasn't my responsibility, and it's making sure that the server rooms in the hotels was ready. So there was cabling to be done in the hotels over there, core switches that had to be implemented in the hotels, and that was in charge of another department in IT, but another department that had to take care of the physical infrastructure in the hotel. So they didn't do their work. So I arrived with my people to implement everything in the hotels, and there was nowhere to put the server. But I wasn't responsible for the project, so I was responsible for that to be done. And at the end of the day, we finished doing that with delay in our project. We finished 6 months later than we were supposed to do in a 1-year project. So it was a 50% delay, which is a lot. Yeah. Everybody understood because I was so young. But I learned that if you want some project to be successful, you can not only look at your responsibilities in the project. It doesn't mean you have to do everything, but don't give things for granted, because your responsibility is not doing your tasks. Your responsibility is the project to be successful. So after all, everybody was very happy because the project was very well done, and it was a boost for my career at that moment, even with the 6 months delay. But it was a big hit for me personally, and I struggled a lot with that. So I would say that was my, as you said, my most brilliant failure.
Okay, super. Now, Chris, thank you so much for this brilliant interview. I really, really enjoyed it, and thank you for your time. And I hope to meet you in face-to-face in Mallorca very soon, one of our favorite islands, of course. So I want to end this conversation with the question, what is the advice that you would give to young professionals, dynamic, ambitious people that want to follow in your footsteps? What is the advice that you would give to them?
Well, trust yourself. Be humble at the same time. So get to your core values, get what you think is right, follow your conscience and your heart and your brain, involve everything, but listen to everyone, and always remember that transformations are not done by yourself, done by the company that you work for, by the people that forms your company, by your team when you have a team. So make sure everyone feels like a star, and you make everyone feels like a star when you want to achieve something. So trust yourself, build on yourself, make sure all the others feel like stars.
And on that note, Chris, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure. Looking forward to meeting you soon.
Thank you, Hendrik. It's been a pleasure also for me. A great interview.